Nice to be at your place, wherever you're watching us right around Australia. This is round 12 of the World Drivers' Championship. We go to Budapest in Hungary for what should be a great race for a couple of reasons. Because if Williams can clinch the Constructors' Championship this race, they'll do it for the 8th time, and that's only ever been matched by Ferrari. So that's a pretty exciting moment. Alan Jones, I think they should be able to do that.
Well, I think there'd be something terribly wrong if they don't. I mean, they really only have to finish to do it. And for someone else to beat them, or even have a chance of beating him with 4 rounds remaining after this meeting, would be for Williams not to finish and for Benetton to finish in the top 3. So it's a pretty tall order.
The man everybody's talking about, Damon Hill, whether he'll be at Williams, whether he moves somewhere else, whether he's going to win the World Championship, whether he won't. I mean, it's been a point of talk for, I guess, weeks and weeks and weeks now in motor racing circles.
Yes, it has. It's going to be very interesting indeed. There's rumours that he might be going to Jackie Stewart, that he might indeed be going to Jordan. He might even end up by staying where he is. I mean, that will really depend on him, and I think it depends on whether he's prepared to take a little bit less than really what he wants to stay with the best team, or go for the dollar and go somewhere else. Well,
we've got some interesting points coming up, but first of all, let's go and have a look at some of the qualifying here. Peter Nugent reports here on what happened because Michael Schumacher put that thing on pole.
Schumacher screamed around the twisting Hungarian circuit, clocking a time of 1 minute 17.12 seconds. It's the dual world champion's 14th pole position of his Formula One career. Just 5/100ths of a second slower was Damon Hill, the man most likely to dethrone the German. In recent weeks, Hill's future at Williams has been the subject of intense speculation. Jacques Villeneuve will start from 3rd place on the grid as he attempts to slash his teammates' championship lead. 4th fastest was Eddie Irvine, who'll be hoping to put his recent problems behind him and complete the race distance. The Benetton pair of Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger will start side by side. Alesi 5th quickest, with Berger just 4/100ths of a second slower.
Right, well, there you are. Michael Schumacher underlying his superiority as a driver in this modern-day Formula One grid by putting that Ferrari on pole. From Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve in 3rd, Eddie Irvine and the other Ferrari 4th, Jean Alesi 5th, his teammate Gerhard Berger in the Benetton 6th. Mika Häkkinen 7th, Johnny Herbert 8th, Coulthard 9th, Hans-Harald Fretson down in 10th, Parnas 11th and Martin Brundle 12th. Barrichello, Katayama, Dinez, Salo, Verstappen and Rosset. And bringing up the last 2 places is Pedro Lamy and Lavaggi.
Well, as we mentioned, everybody's been talking about Damon Hill. The man that talked to Damon Hill, Murray Walker, straight after qualifying. Here's what he had to say, and he dodged him a couple of times, I'll tell you, on the hard questions.
Now, I don't want to rub it in, but you know how important starting is here and getting out in front. And your starts in Silverstone and Hockenheim weren't the greatest.
No, they certainly weren't. But I've got an added problem here in that I'm now on the dirty part of the track, and this circuit is notoriously dusty and dirty, and the part of the track that I'm on for the start is used hardly at all during the running. So I've got an even more difficult task of getting off the line now.
Well, here's a bit of encouragement or discouragement for you. Nigel Mansell started from 12th on the grid in 1989 and won the race. Thierry Boutsen started from pole and won the race.
Yeah, right. So I think historically it's still very possible to win the race from 2nd on the grid. I'm not unhappy about that. I think front row is the vital thing, and tactics will play a part. I think if I was 12th on the grid, I wouldn't feel quite so optimistic, but I'm not. So yeah, it's a good place.
Now, I don't know how much chance you've had to observe the Ferrari in action, but they've had 7 failures to finish from the last 8 starts. And starting in front of you is one thing, and finishing in the race in front of you could be quite another for Schumacher.
That's right. The reliability is not at the best level at the moment. So, but I'm not really, you know, I can't see into the future. I don't know if they're going to. I'm taking it for granted that they will finish, and that I'll finish, and so will Jack. You know, so on that basis, I have to look at the race as a very, very close thing, because there's only Jack's only sort of 700ths or something behind me.
Now, we've winkled you out of your debrief, and thank you for talking to us. Presumably you're discussing strategy and stopping 3 times.
I think three times is highly likely, but 2 stops is not out of the question. But this place goes through tyres quite heavily, and I think, in all honesty, last year we used three stops, 4 sets of tyres, and that's the most likely scenario at the moment.
Now, you're starting and racing on the softest compound tyre of all. There's an awful lot of sand here. If you get sand in the rubber, how much does it affect grip and handling of the car?
Well, if you only go half a car's width rather, offline, then you've got dirt on your tyres, and you just drop back about 2 seconds for half a lap. You know, you just can't get any grip back. And it's that makes getting through back markers a difficult thing, because if you go offline, you get dirt on your tyres, and then you go slower. So it's a tricky place here to tackle.
Now, you're 21 points ahead in the championship, but there are still 50 points to be won. Does that make you relaxed, calm, on edge, worried, petrified?
I'd say I'm confident, but I also am very wary that the championship is not over by a long way. There's still some serious racing to be done, and some very close competition between now and the end of the season. I'm not resting on any laurels.
Now, the ridiculous rumours persist. Do you let that get at you at all?
No, I'd be interested to hear what you've heard, but I mean, there's this time of year there's all sorts of interest, and my concentration though is entirely on winning races. I'm not really thinking too much about next year.
Yeah, pretty tough, you know. I mean, you've got to live with the fact that people are saying you're not probably going to be there next year. I mean, you've already mentioned that he'll be offered a sum of money. If he wants some more than that, he's going to have to move. Heinz Harold Frentzen, of course, is being tipped to go to Williams.
But it's a very high-pressure sport. I mean, that's part of being a Grand Prix racing driver. That's part of the parcel. It's not just a simple matter of being in the car and driving quick around the circuit. And that's probably what makes a great driver. You know, you really have to put all the rumours, you have to cope with the pressures, you have to be sitting in the car knowing that you're on the pinnacle of a mountain of a $200 million assault on the World Championship, and if you make a mistake, there's a lot of people underneath you that are going to suffer. So that's part of being a driver.
Of course, the other rumour is that Panis, Olivier Panis, he may go to Jordan because French engine, French driver,